Today we're going to look at something everyone thinks about, but nobody wants to talk about. Here are 10 reasons why your influencer campaign is failing. I'm Jon Davids, and this is Ask Influicity. It's super important to identify your goals from the very beginning. We'll talk to marketers who are new customers of ours. We'll dive deep into how they've worked with influencers in the past, and they'll tell us about campaigns that didn't go so well because it didn't drive any clicks or nobody bought anything off their website. And then we'll go a little deeper and ask what kind of content they created. It becomes clear very quickly that they created awareness-focused content. And you really have to make sure that you're aligning the goals with the kind of content you're creating. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's really important to back up your influencer selection with research. For example, if you want to reach an 18 to 34-year-old audience of people who are living in New York City, that's something you're going to need data to tell you. You can't just look at the influencer and make an assumption that because they live in New York City and they're a 20-year-old male, that their audience is going to mirror them. This becomes really important when you look at high fashion models. Fashion models tend to have a lot of male followers. So when a female-focused brand wants to work with them and they overlook the data and analytics side of the equation, they could actually be reaching an audience of males where they intend to reach an audience of females. And we've seen this happen. Compensation models are very important to think through, and there's a lot of options here. You can pay influencers a flat fee, you can pay them based on the conversions they drive you, or you can pay them over the long term. You can also give them product in return for work, you can send them traveling places. As you can see, there's a lot of options. Make sure you're choosing a compensation model that aligns with the objectives that you have for the influencer. Some brands will prioritize reach over engagement, and this can be a problem because you're sucked in by the vanity numbers. Someone's got 100,000 followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on YouTube. The problem is they don't have the likes and the comments to back that up. Or maybe they do, but you've got to check it out. If you're not seeing at least a 2 to 3% engagement on the larger accounts, something could be wrong. One-off deals can be a big problem if you want to build a sustainable influencer strategy. Influencers will spend time developing a rapport with you, negotiating a price, working you into their content, and then they never hear from you again for a second or third campaign. And word spreads in the influencer community. You want to be developing influencer relationships that last. Make sure you're keeping this in mind when you're selecting influencers off the bat. Measuring the wrong metrics. You've got to think about the numbers and match them with your goals. So if your metric is clicks, make sure everything you're doing, from the content you're creating, the influencers you're selecting, the timing, the budgets, make sure it all aligns with clicks. If it's awareness, if you're driving top of the funnel awareness, that's a whole different type of metric tracker. On Influicity, we have different types of reports that are customized for different types of clients in different scenarios. If you're a retailer and we're working on the e-commerce side, maybe it's all about driving clicks and conversions. But if we're driving awareness for a holiday campaign with that same retailer, whole different set of metrics. Not disclosing partnerships is a big no-no in the influencer world. The FTC recently came out with the first big fine for a group of influencers who were working for a brand and not disclosing it. It's just bad practice. If you partner up with an influencer, think of a fun, artful, creative way of disclosing that to the public and build that into your campaign. There's nothing wrong with it, and if you don't do it, it can really bite you in the end. Try not to gloss over the little guys so quickly. Micro-influencers have a really important place in the influencer ecosystem. If you're targeting local communities, if you're targeting niche groups, micro-influencers could be your best bet, especially if the other influencers, the really, really big ones, are too expensive, out of your budget, or just not available. Micro-influencers could be the way to go. Being too controlling and overbearing of your influencers really does lead to bad outcomes on the content, and you can see it. You can see influencer campaigns that look contrived, that looks like the influencer's scripted. And that's because the brand manager, the agency, while their intentions are good, they're actually giving the influencer advice that is ruining the content. So make sure, if you want a strong influencer campaign, choose your influencers wisely and let them do their thing. This last one is a bit of a shameless plug, but just hear me out. You've got to be using a piece of software or a partner who has the data to back up what you're doing. It's data, it's execution, it's all those things that keep the trains moving on time, because the mechanics of running an influencer campaign are actually really complicated. It's actually tougher when you start scaling that influencer budget. So make sure you've got a partner that actually has your best interest in mind, is not working for the influencer but is working for you, and is able to execute campaigns on demand with your budgets and with your objectives in mind. Thanks, guys. Make sure you check out the white paper, Why Your Influencer Campaign is Failing. The link is below. And of course, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You name it, we're there, and we'll see you next time.